Hey, welcome to the next episode, and that's gonna be the most important one because we're gonna create your first application and publish it into the cluster that we have just created. All right, let's begin. So since we already have our cluster created based on my previous guides, and I'll show you how to create your registry as well, we're gonna use all of this information to create our first application. So first thing I will do is I will go and SSH to my node number one. I will type again based on my cheat sheet that you can find in the description of this video. I am going to paste the following command. So what it actually does, it outputs a so-called kubeconfig. Well, in short, it's a file that allows us to connect and do all the things that we want with the cluster remotely. And on my desktop, I am creating a new folder. I will name my folder as my app. Okay, I will create new file here. Kubeconfig YAML. Yes. Now I'm copy pasting the output of the kubeconfig. That's the old stuff on my certificate. And here I have it. So now let's check if it's working. In another instance of my terminal window, I will go to desktop, my app. I have this file here, and now I will run the kubectl command. If you're running kubectl for the first time, you need to install it. You can check the link. It will show you how to install the kubectl on your computer. Also, it is very useful to have a dev space that we're going to use in this guide. That basically helps me set up the automation for my CI/CD, so I can easily publish and synchronize my data with the cluster. And also the Docker desktop must be up and running. So here you can see on my desktop it's available. So great thing, our kubeconfig is perfectly configured and we can use it for further operations. All right, I'm opening this GitHub repo. So the first file we're going to use is for the deployment, to create the deployment. It's called app.yaml, and I will download it to my computer right now and copy paste it to the folder, my application folder. Let me go to that folder. Well, it's basically a template of our future deployment. Deployment defines the application. In other words, it's like a general configuration of the things we're going to publish. Right, you must remember in my previous guide when we've been creating your registry, we have this link. So basically this is exactly the link that we have to provide here to link our deployment to this image. I mean the location of this image in the registry. Then we have another interesting part here, which is the amount of resources we want to allocate. So 10 M is actually a really small amount. It's just 1% of the CPU. I will just increase it to 100. And limits is actually if your app reaches the limit, but Kubernetes still have some free resources. It can allocate some extra CPU or memory in case your limits allow that. Now we download the second file, which is the dev space file. Okay, here we have our template registry, same as we have it here. I'm going to replace with my app. Here actually, where we have the registry, we have to provide our registry URL and the password and the username of the registry. I need to refer to my cheat sheet to get it back. So the username is the Kubernetes and the password is the following one. You had a different one unless you were not changing or following my application by heart. Another important configuration I want to point out here is the platform. Well, we have it here and here. So in short, choose ARM64 if you're running Ampere processors in your cluster, or choose AMD64 if your cluster is running on Intel or AMD processors. Alright, let's finalize the installation. I will open the GitHub repo again. I'm downloading the Docker file from the repo and the endpoints.yaml. Now I need to copy these two files into my application folder, which is my app. So I'm copy pasting these two files right now. Yeah, by the way, as you can see, there is docker.txt. This is something that we need to fix. That's my laptop issue. So the way I'm doing is basically in my terminal typing mv dockerfile.txt, move to just simply docker file, and yeah, here's it. We are removing this extension. Okay, let me check what's there inside. So basically we just have a simple PHP Apache application here. That's it. And for the endpoints, it's basically where the traffic comes in. So we have to set up the template slug. This is what we will replace with our default my app. One more time again, same principle as we did with all of the files before. And the namespace, in our case, it's matching our application name. So it's going to be my app as well. But it's important to replace that. We're allocating all of our resources in the name of the application's namespace. Otherwise, they won't find each other and won't work. Here in the annotations tab, you can see all of the parameters that will be sent to Nginx web server, and in the hosts and under the rules, again, the host parameter, I have to provide my endpoint. So in your case, it's probably going to be a different URL. You have to set up and point your DNS to one of the nodes of your cluster. Just set up the IP address, the A record in your DNS. I am applying changes of the endpoints.yaml. As you can see, they are created in the cluster. So now technically we can run our application, but just one more step left. Make sure to create the underscores folder in the my app folder. That's basically where all of the files are located. Alright, so now we can publish our first application. So basically we're just typing dev space deploy, and everything should happen now. We published it. We published our first application. So I'm typing kubectl get deployments in the namespace my app, and I'm providing the kube config here. I can see that my app is ready, up to date, available, and it's running, and it's 29 seconds old. That's pretty inspiring. So now let's try to access this app. As you remember, we've been declaring our endpoint. In my case, it's my app, appkanza.cloud. I'll try to open and see what's going to happen there. Okay, our certificates are not yet provisioned, and that's for a reason. If I accept the risks, okay. So technically our app is operational. It's just certain things have to be tweaked first. So now I can also enter my container and see what's happening there inside. I'm using devspace enter for this purpose, and as you can see, it's just super easy. I'm ready there right now. And now I can see my root folder, which is in www.html, and there's nothing here. If I try to create a file, touch index.html, what's going to happen here now? Well, my index is actually picked up by Apache. And now I can remove the index.html and try if PHP is working. But we do another interesting thing here. I will exit right now from this container. And since everything locally is stored here, and right now my application locally is not synced with what we have in the cluster, what I can do is, well, first I need to go back to my GitHub. There's one small thing like ignore file. I highly encourage you to have this file. Oh, it's renaming to txt. It's not that cool. So I highly encourage you to have this file here. It has to be a hidden file with a dot in front. Yes, use dot. Yeah, I have to move this into this. Sorry, it's Mac stuff. Okay, now we have the ignore file. So in the ignore file, we remove some of the garbage that we do not want to be passed from our computer to the cluster. There can be some MacBook configuration stuff that you actually don't see even if your hidden files are enabled, but they will send to the server, and then some bots can actually do penetration testing, whatever. It actually does happen quite often. Basically, they're retrieving information that way. It's not something you have to worry about at this stage, but it's good practice to already have something set up in the beginning. Same for environmental variables and some other things. Let's say you're doing JavaScript debugging and development, node modules or something you don't need to synchronize. So anyway, I'm closing my ignore file. And the next comment I would like to show you is called devspace sync. Devspace sync is super convenient here because I can synchronize my files with the running application in the cluster and vice versa. So I need to go back to my app folder. Yeah, I'm launching devspace sync. After running this app, you can see it shows me the live output of what is actually happening between my laptop and the cluster. So if I open my underscores folder, I can see that the folder HTML now appears here. So it actually means like I have downloaded those things from the cluster. So now let me create my index.php file here. So once I'm creating here, you can see the file was uploaded. Technology works pretty great. I'm using it everywhere. If I go to the coffee shop, as long as you have at least some kind of a working internet connection, it just works. So let me edit my PHP file. What I'm going to type here is just echo. Okay, hello world. Super basic, but whatever. And now I see it here. As you know, the containers are stateless. That means that every time there is some kind of restart or cluster, update certain things, then your app will be restarted to its initial state. What you have to do here is you have to run the deploy command again, and that means you're recompiling the image with the configurations that are already stored in this folder. It's super cool because now your endpoint is working and is globally accessible. If you're building backends for your mobile application, you can access it from a mobile connection, and it's already working the moment you change something on your laptop. If you have any questions, do feel free to ask them in the comment section below, and I'm curious how it goes for you. Just share your experience, and see you in the next episodes. Thanks for being with me.